Alright, we're about to head off and see Stan and also Eddy and a few other members, Claude and things like that, regarding a petition that it affects pretty much anyone that wants to modify their street machine, four-wheel drive, custom bikes, anything like that when it comes to the Department of Transport. So we're going to tell you how it affects you, what's it all about, and why you should sign the petition to try and help out this cause. So let's get into it. Hey guys, it's Phil from Aussie Garage and I'm here with Stan today and a company of friends. Now, Stan, tell us what we're here for, mate.
And thanks, Phil, for taking the opportunity to come out here and talk to us. Well, obviously, to start with, the Australian Street Machine Federation, yes. We're a group, as you can see the sign out the back,
yep.
Consists of myself as the director, Claude, you'd say he was more the guy that was with me in the beginning. I had a Tarmac hatchback which sits in the background there that we discussed. So Claude was with me in the beginning together. Then we had James McDonald, which unfortunately he's not here today,
yep.
Couldn't make it. And Chris Bitmead, that was with us at the time, and he was with us for a couple of years. Unfortunately, he had a few things that he had to move on with, and it was great having Chris there, from the beginning. But an integral person was Eddy, which is sitting next to you,
yep.
Eddy Arachi. Everyone knows Eddy for C4C. Eddy, again, with our involvement as ASMF, we had helped Eddy probably more in the beginning stages, Eddy?
Yeah. Early stages, yeah.
Early stages. Yeah. And Eddy was, well, grateful to have Eddy on board with ASMF. But going back to, on my right here, my wife Rita and my son Stephen. Stephen's been a part of everything we do with the cars from the beginning when he was only a little tacker. As the years rolled on, I don't know, Phil, was he just put in that one road and he didn't know which road to go off? He grew up around all the street machines and hot rods.
Yeah.
So Stephen and Rita is a big part of ASMF. Perfect. Because when anything we do, car events, everything, they're with me. We are a team.
Yep.
Just
Perfect.
like the guys are.
Yep.
And
great.
It's probably the easiest way to put it. Like, we wouldn't be moving forward as a group if we couldn't understand and work with each other.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Rita does all the admin, to be specific, and Stephen takes the tail end of everything else.
Yep, fair enough.
So he was the runaround boy, but he's 18 now.
Yep, taking on more responsibility and getting involved a lot more.
Great. Yeah. James, development manager for Shannon's, has moved into a different position. Lloyd is taking his position. He will actually be joining us as part of ASMF.
Okay, great.
Very soon. I hadn't actually got a chance to tell you guys yet, but it was something that was popped on me yesterday. Really looking forward to his involvement with James.
Yeah, perfect.
But yeah, that's what we are.
I understand. So tell me about what you're actually trying to achieve right now with this petition. Now, we know that it's definitely going to benefit people like us that have got street cars, that are on the road. It allows us to adjust our performance and things like that with our cars to suit the car and what it wants to be, rather than what we're allowed to be.
Correct.
So tell us a bit more about that petition side.
But the way the petition is set up, we've tried to keep it simple. The existing modification rules are quite good, to be honest. They're quite good, but the way it's interpreted and the departments and the engineers that are involved, there are problems there. Yep. And that's where the difficulty is. People that want to build a street car, simple things like the wheels, for example, bigger wheels, bigger engine capacity, upgrading brakes, suspension, all those things. There's inconsistency in the approvals.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it was anyone in particular's fault, but we started as ASMF in the beginning for that reason. Claude and myself talked about this.
Yep.
And Claude had done so much integral research. I don't know another person that I've been working with in a group that has done so much to just not talk about the modification rules and what we should do, but to actually come up with evidence on how these modification rules can be done correctly. So he's a huge part of that. Eddy spoke to me about, we talked about a petition in the early days, but Eddy was more integral in initiating the idea.
Okay.
And the whole idea is, to go back to your question, just say that again, to get the public to support the engineers so that the engineers have the final say.
Yes.
As the petition says. Why the final say? Because at the moment the engineer does give the approval for the client.
Yep.
And there's inconsistency in approvals.
Okay.
When there's, in South Australia, and I'll let Claude talk about that in a little bit, the engineers give the approval and the approval is set in stone.
Yep.
So yeah, the petition is really for anyone, not just street machines, anything modified, four-wheel drives even,
Yep.
to say this is the engineer that we've spoken to, and the engineer has charged us for his fee to do that.
Yep.
Our wish list, he'll guide us through with our wish list of the modifications, and then from there we basically submit the paperwork and sit back and wait for the approval. Yeah.
Because we know that there is a massive difference between, say, WA and the rest of the states of Australia.
Yes.
Simple things like even a bug catcher out the front of your bonnet is considered a no-no kind of thing. And even if you've got permits, it's very rare that you actually get approval for it without them telling you, no, still remove it straight away.
Yes.
So, whereas in Melbourne, that's just a common occurrence on the street. Had a meet while we were there and saw a couple of cars rock up and we went, how are you driving this? And they went, well, it's licensed here in Melbourne. I went, oh wow, okay.
There's no reason why it can't, Phil,
Yeah.
when the modification is done correctly.
Yes.
And one of the things, if I like to stress, is with modifications, safety is the number one.
Yes, definitely.
It's the first thing us guys are advocating, not just, a lot of people talk about wanting to modify a car. The actual nitty-gritty detail of it, safety must come first.
Absolutely, because when we're talking about safety, you're talking about if you're having a bloody, high-powered, horse-powered car, that thing's got to stop. It's got to be able to make sure that it's not twisting anything around or bending anything out of proportion or
Correct.
causing any other damage.
Correct.
So any other passenger or a car and another beside you is going to get either hit or sideswiped or anything else,
Yeah.
You definitely don't want that. And put it this way, I wouldn't want that on my conscience if I was actually have that kind of car either.
Well, Phil, the engineers are qualified in their field, and for them to give the approval, again, Claude may talk about this particular part. There's insurances that the engineers have. I won't go into that side of it now, but really, like whether it's a highly modified or huge big horsepower car, if it's got the correct certifications for everything, then the Department of Transport shouldn't have to worry.
Yeah.
I think one of the things when I first got to Perth is I saw how unfair it was I came from South Australia myself, so I grew up with street machines and whatnot, and I was familiar with the VSB 14 and whatnot, so I suppose here in Perth or around the country, I presume, probably about 80 or 90% of people who want to modify their vehicles do conform within VSB 14.
Yeah.
Sometimes you do engage an engineer and they do conform to VSB 14, but what's different here in Perth is that the CEO can knock you back, doesn't have to give an excuse.
Yeah.
So you've gone through the approval, modified the car, spent the money with the engineer, he deems it safe. And you could spend in $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 with an engineer.
Yeah.
Still go to the Department of Transport, and they go, "No, we don't think it's safe." And it's not as if an engineer will approve something that's not safe, because if that's involved in an accident or a death or something like that, his name is tied to it.
Yeah.
He won't get any more work. So if anything, they'll be fairly conservative, I suppose, if you want to say that.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
want to make sure that they do all the testing, they know what's going on, you know. And I suppose when we started the group, you know, as Stan said, it was all right. People saying, "Oh, we should do this, we should do that," but you know, when you start to talk to the government departments, if you don't have nothing with you or no information or facts, you're just there for a talk, you know what I mean? And as soon as you walk out, there's nothing there. So we embarked on a mission to start finding facts and do our research and information. And all the government research that I've read and the reports and that sort of stuff, it was contrary to what has been perceived here in Perth. So that's where we started to embark on a journey to make the Department of Transport feel more at ease. Like, you know, you're not dealing with people who are 16 years of modifying a car. You're dealing with a lot of people who's been around for a long time, and they're engaging with us older guys, you know what I mean? And we want to spend the money, and we make sure it's doing right because we want to enjoy the cars on the road.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, why would we want to spend this kind of coin on these kind of vehicles and then have them destroyed within 5 seconds by being stupid?
Even look at that, you've got the culture's really changed, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's a lot of clubs around everywhere, and they frown on the hooning or the mucking around, you know what I mean? You want to start doing that stuff, you're off the club. So that's worse for them, you know what I mean? So even the culture over the last 30 years, 40 years has changed between street machining, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And with the concessional rego that Eddy prompted to start, that's made modified cars even more so on the road than before.
Perfect. And the C4C has been perfect. So, you know, you're a big part of that, Eddy. So talk us through some of that.
Well, look, the same thing again, as Claude said. I mean, I originally got the idea from South Australia. You know, I thought, well, why can't we have that here?
Yeah.
You know, it was my exact words. So I just got it in my head then and thought, I'm just going to start a petition. And I actually went for the same thing, the $90 for 90 days. And, you know, it just grew so quickly. You know, the online petition was just great. I mean, it just, you know, it really helped to get the people behind you, basically. And then I thought, well, you know, the next stage is I'll get some manual ones as well. And that's when, you know, I spoke to Stan there at the car show there. And anyone that goes to these shows isn't shy to sign it, you know. So within no time, it just, blew up. The numbers became really a large amount of numbers in such a short time, basically. So it was quite easy to do, I've got to say. It was, people got behind it. They loved the idea. You always had your few people that, you know,
Are a bit
always hesitant and all that. But,
fair enough.
But in the end, it's come good. It's been really good for everyone.
I have to say, Eddy's been very modest. It wasn't easy. He was persistent. He put a lot of his time and effort.
Oh yeah, the signatures, the manual ones can be hard work. They do. But look, the people of Perth definitely got behind it. There's no doubt about it, eh? And and hence the reason we have it now. Basically, I mean, the government looked at it and thought, no, we're not going to give you the $90 for 90 days, but you know, they've got their own version, which was the 75% reduction, which is still work. Once it's been in the scheme for now a couple of years now, something like that.
At least 3 now, I think.
Yeah, I mean, now
I think it's worked perfect.
Well, I'm not even using the 90 days. You
No.
know, so it's because that was their biggest fear, is that it's not enough. It's not enough, but it actually is.
Yeah, because when you're only driving the cars like on the weekends or whenever you choose to from time to time, you don't really use it. Like I use my vehicle for events, but I use my vehicle going to and from mechanics and trimmers and everything like that. And I still haven't used up my 90 days, and I've logged everything that I've had to use it for.
The car behind us, I bought that XR 20 plus years ago, and I was paying full rego on that for years. After Eddy initiated it and we followed through and it succeeded, it's on C4C and I still haven't driven it.
But the good thing about it is that you can actually have more toys in your collection and not worry about paying a full rego for everything, because you may have 10 or 20 cars in your collection sometimes, and when you're paying that much for the full rego, that's a lot of coin that's going out the door, plus the insurance and everything else.
Yes.
So wherever you can save money, well, that can go back into another build.
Exactly. Exactly. And the person that really hasn't got a big budget on a car can still enter the street machine scene with an old car.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be a show car.
No.
You can still put on C4C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. And now the other part of the C4C that which you guys are trying to bring in is the rolling 30. Now, what's that about?
Well, that's actually now come into effect.
It's into effect.
Oh, great.
Yep. Got approved about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Perfect.
About 4 weeks ago.
Which
Yep.
was really unexpected.
Yeah.
Nice.
Pleasant surprise.
And that was through the Perth Car Club,
Yep.
Nick Decembre.
Yeah.
He had a very big part in that, and
Yep.
all the boys there at the Perth Car Club. So he introduced, this was at was it their second
I think it's their second show, yeah.
Second
Anniversary,
anniversary,
Perth Car
yeah.
Club.
Up in Aussie Park there.
Yep.
He asked us to come along. Little did we know that there was it David Michael?
David Michael.
David Michael.
Member of Parliament,
Member
yeah.
of Parliament, yeah. Who has ties with Nick.
Yep.
Their sons play football.
Football,
together.
yeah.
And he was there. So Nick had me up there, and I just spoke about C4C and how well it had been going and everything else, and they really wanted to see the rolling 30, like they were sort of big advocate for that. So I had mentioned that the next thing that I'd look at was always on our minds that the next step would be the rolling 30, just like South Australia have got. So just forming, continuing on that same sort of road.
Yes.
Little did I know that he was listening to that and was ready to help us, which is what he did. He literally after we said the spill there, he come running after us and says, "Right, I'm David Michael, I'm such and such, and what can I do to help?"
He'd also, but he knew our history.
Yeah.
Thanks to Nick Decembre, he'd already given the Minister some idea about what ASMF was and what it consisted of.
Yes.
And as Eddy said, we sat with him, and when I explained to David Michael that ASMF had already had interactions with his office, which is Rita Safiati's office, Transport Minister, that was already history laid on the table.
Yep.
He knew we weren't someone that had just come out of the woodwork.
Okay, yeah.
He knew that we had history and evidence of the work that we've done with modified vehicles. That in support of what we met David that day.
Perfect.
Communications with ASMF continued.
Now that we've got that rolling 30 is great, because then more people can actually keep joining on the C4C rather than being a simple cut-off date. Yeah. And then that was it. So any cars that were older than that, well, bad luck kind of thing. Now it's like, okay, we can keep adding to that list.
I think the best part I think they liked about the whole thing, which is what we made to their attention, is getting the youth involved in it.
Yes. Yeah.
And the only way to do that is to get their cars.
Yeah.
Of course, which means the cars that they're driving now, there's no way that they would have been in the scheme, but to make it a rolling 30 years, it brings them on board, So I think they liked that part of it as well. They had it was a good reasoning, just getting them involved in clubs, and getting them involved in clubs is getting their cars involved in clubs, and that's sort of rolling 30 years.
Yeah. You see with the rolling 30 years C4C is that as an employer myself, you always look for avenues to try and get you more people into the trade. You know what I mean? So by making them cheaper to have their car registered and insured, getting the extra funds to do little things in the car, and what most. A lot of people just want to get into the racing industry, the car industry or whatever. So what a great feeder to the industry to get people into working on cars. And the young guy wants to get an apprentice working on car or suspension or welding or fabricating. So it's not just that little bit of saving a bit of money on the rego. It's the offshoot of that on the industry as well.
Yeah, definitely.
The industry, like Adelaide, it's really taken off. It has boomed, and it's getting busy here. Yeah, and it's getting busy here now. While people start to, C4C been in a couple of years, got some extra funds here.
I can now put this car in,
and
they start to look for them and work on them.
100%,
well, now it's getting harder to bloody find a spray painter around, because now you're booked in for 2-3 years to get your car spray painted. So, which is great in one sense, because obviously those people are busy. Yeah. But it's also bad in another sense, because there's not enough tradies now to cover that downfall that people are asking for. Hopefully we can encourage more people to get into these kind of classic units.
The evidence of what Claude said about the industry, and even Eddy saying about the younger generation, every time there's a conversation like this, even as we are talking now, everything that a car modifier would ask, there was evidence that ASMF had, documented evidence that was presented to government. So, for example, when Claude said the different businesses and all that, there was evidence that there was X amount, wasn't there, Claude? X amount of $1 billion injected.
$1 billion towards it. It was a lot.
Injected
it
into
was
the revenue of whichever state it was. South Australia's a good one to use, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. It's just to inject so much funds into the economy, indirectly and directly. You know what I mean? They employ more people. That's why they pay more taxes, but then they also spend more money on parts and whatnot. So you have more shops open up. You know, aftermarket parts and with the industry, especially now, it's really changing. With 3D scanning and printing and all that, it's a whole new generation of skilled people coming into it now. So they're finding more efficient ways to build parts and modify cars or whatever. So that's a whole new skill which not in Australia, the whole world needs. You know what I mean? The industry benefits in a lot of ways long term. You know?
Yeah, definitely. Like we were at Motorex and we were watching Rita Garage and what he does, and that was really good to see that people are actually getting him to actually give them the final product of what the car looks like. Because then you're looking at it going, wow, that's what I'm aiming for, and that gives them a massive goal to go, well, I'm going to get my car to that level. Whereas before you're going, I know what the vision is in my head, but I can't picture it, and then sometimes because you get so tied up in the I haven't got to this part, or I haven't got to this bit, and you forget about the end goal, whereas that gives them a clear goal to go straight forward as well.
It's a vision and an image to
definitely
work with.
It's very well done. I love how he's done it.
It's big. You know, I see some custom fabricators now designing axles and steering arms and all that, you know what I mean? And they print it in plastic first, make sure it all fits, and it's a bit of expense there, but my goodness, it saves a lot of time in the long run. You know what I mean? Right, we've got the final thing, bang, we're making it now, you know?
Which is all employment, you know, that's just creating employment everywhere.
Well, even trimming, you know what I mean? They traditionally use aluminium panels or MDF or whatever it is, and now they're printing stuff. Console or whatever, you know what I mean? So, and they can print exactly what they want as well, and they know that'll fit. So it's just one of many classic cases of creating an industry that's tied to the car industry, and it gives something else for the young people to fuel them to get into it. And develop skills, you know?
I mean, because a lot of the old school stuff is what we've said 100 times on the show as well, is it's a dying art. You know, people have actually gone away from it, and more people are going into the younger cars these days than what they are into the older classics. But in saying that too, we do see a lot of young kids at car shows going, wow, what is that? And because they haven't actually seen one before, and until they see one, they go, I want that, that is cool. What is it? You know, kind of thing. And they start asking you really good questions about it. We've also seen a lot of friends on our YouTube channels, the kids are right into helping their dads out in the garage, in the cars, working on projects, and they're having a ball doing it.
What I wanted to also say, Phil, was hinging off what Eddy and Claude said. ASMF, when we started it, it was never about us. It was always about the bigger scene, the bigger purpose. That's what it was. We're sitting here now with Claude, Eddy and myself. James is integral in part of it still. Obviously, his apologies for today. But there's a lot of people in the background, isn't there, guys, that are helping us, that are constantly helping us, that actually want to help. ASMF is not just the people sitting here at this table. There's so much people involved in wanting to help, and if this video can help, Phil, with anyone, that prospective person that wants to help with the petition, God, we're more than open to hear from anyone. That can help us.
So with the petition at the moment, where can people find the petition, or where they can go and log on and sign up for it?
It is on Facebook.
Great.
The reason that we sort of went on Facebook is because it helps it grow. Like when you click onto the link and you sign the petition, it automatically, if you share it, it can go to all of your friends.
Okay, great.
And then when they sign it, it goes to all their friends. So it manages to grow quite quickly.
Perfect.
So at the end, like once I've sent it off, they're no longer helping me. They're helping that person that signed it next.
Yes.
So that's how it just grew how it grows so quickly, eh?
Yeah.
But to be honest, what we have found with this particular one is that it's the elder generation, their cars are already done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the modification side of it, they're not really jumping on board as much.
Yeah.
You know, we really need to try and jump on to the younger gen, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is
Yeah.
where we're looking at next, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah. That's part of what that's. We're
But it's also another message we like to portray is that it's not only just for street machines, you know, four-wheel drives,
It's four-wheel drives,
motorcycles.
exactly. It's all
Yeah.
of them,
It's for
basically,
everything,
yeah.
you know. You need engineers for this, you know what I mean?
Well, a lot of people are doing, like you said, custom bikes these days.
Yeah.
They're also doing custom four-wheel drives for
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff and
Yeah.
for multi-purposes, and changing out from a normal V8 to LS or different engines with blowers and superchargers and everything else,
Yeah,
which it does impact on them.
that's right.
Yeah.
You know.
Hey.
I mean, the hooning, if people think a big horsepower car is part of that, Phil, incorrect.
Yep.
Because we got evidence through insurance companies that the hooning and the deaths and the crashes are not from these cars.
No.
They're from the average cars that are on the road.
Yep.
But because our cars probably make more noise, they look more sparkly on the road, then people look at them and go, oh, that's a nice old car, and then you rev the engine and think, oh, that's got a better guts in it. Or this must be the guy that's a hoon, but you look inside the car and you'll see a bloke with grey hair, or no hair. And then you realise it's not a young bloke.
Yeah.
But again, going back to Eddy, we want the young guys to get involved.
Yeah, definitely.
We want everyone, really.
And if the petition succeeds,
Perfect.
it's going to open it up for everyone.
Yeah.
For all the young guys, the engineers are going to be more confident. DOT will probably be more confident as well, with less problems on their
I
plate.
think one of the things the Department of Transport saw that, okay, we're not dealing with a bunch of hoo-has, you know what I mean? You're talking about people who have a bit of common sense and who're striving for the same goal, actually, you know what I mean? So, and we can come and throw some good ideas around, you know what I mean, and find a good resolution to a problem or scenario.
And most of these cars, when you're thinking about it, all we want to do is pretty much just cruise on the street, be comfortable, go for a drive, things like that. Just show off our vehicles without being silly. Like, if you're going to do that kind of stuff, well, there's plenty of places around to go, like Motorplex and stuff like that. If you want to spin the wheels and do burnouts and do drags, well, there's places for it.
Exactly. I mean,
You look at the some of the shows that are developed now, you know, Cars and Coffee, and there's a few other ones that are huge, you know what I mean? It just gives somebody excuse to go out and go for a drive and people to...
Oh, sorry.
I don't see why this petition can't succeed if there's more people that will do what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not about the ASMF. ASMF Queensland knows what we've done with being the WA division and they're the Queensland division, but I just hope there's more people that can build, car builders, whatever, in the scene, that can actually commit to just supporting this petition, because some people thought giving the power to the engineer was the engineer taking advantage of his position to make more money.
Yeah.
It's not that.
It
actually
makes it safe and everything else.
Yeah. Well, okay, everyone has to make money.
Yeah.
We're all in business. You know,
Of course.
whether someone's killing the pig or not is not the point. The point is, if the engineer has his final say on the application, then you as a builder or owner of the vehicle has got full 100% confidence that, okay, may not be exactly what he wanted, may not have a 671 blower sticking out the bonnet, you know, but something close to.
Yeah.
You know.
And at least you know, if he signed off on it, it's going to pass.
It's going to pass.
It's going to pass. Because that's the biggest thing, is that nothing worse where you, like you said before, Steve and Claude, that you pay an engineer, and then all of a sudden they get to say no to it. It's like, so why not just pay this engineer?
Especially an engineer who's been endorsed by the Department of Transport.
Exactly. So
as
those
an
signatory
authorised
ones is
signature.
what we talk
Oh,
about.
wow,
So
okay, yeah.
there are like 12, is that right, Steve?
Yes.
12 signatories.
Yep. There's 12 signatories.
By the Department of Transport.
And as endorsed, as he said.
As endorsed,
So even going through them, it's no different.
Yeah,
It's like, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just makes no sense.
That makes it hard, then.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of builders out there watching this and going, well, We don't know what these guys are going on about. We're still getting approvals.
Yeah.
We know a lot of builders are still getting approvals, and they're probably not having any trouble at all because they're doing it correctly.
Yeah.
They're doing it by the book, and they're, not everyone pushes the bracket, but the majority that aren't building them, and they're just guys that want to build a car and pay someone to do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the heartache starts.
And I've had a number of people that we've interviewed that told us that they've had to tune down their cars to get over because they weren't allowed.
Exactly.
Because it was too much horsepower for what it was.
Yes.
Things like that.
Yep.
So with the petitions as well,
Yep.
if they're not in the state of WA, can they sign it?
Yes. So anywhere in Australia, if that petition, well, the petition is open.
Yep.
On the social media. Support from any state to sign the signature.
Would definitely count. I mean,
definitely count.
You might not be living here in WA,
Yeah.
you might be living in Melbourne for a few years, so there's no reason why you can't be signing.
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
So yeah, we encourage it. Basically.
We encourage
you're
that.
out of anyone that's in Australia, basically.
Definitely.
Yeah, perfect.
And if they want to know a bit more about the petition, go to our website again, asmfwa.com.au,
Yep.
and they'll make contact with us, and we can even talk to them.
Well, I think it's great too, because at the end of the day, it possibly would affect them if they ever came over here to bring their car over for a show or event or anything like that, and they start driving on the road because they're used to driving on the road in Melbourne or South Australia or anything else to get pinged here.
Yep.
Well, then, at least it will then affect them.
Or relocating here,
Yeah,
that's a good point.
anything like that, even
Stuff
to
like that.
relocate and live here,
Yeah.
knowing what they can and can't do here.
There's been many instances where people bought cars from interstate where they have been approved and engineered and made roadworthy, and they bought the cars from over there, brought it here, and they go, no, we don't think it's right, it's not safe.
Yeah.
And they couldn't, for the love of money, couldn't get it registered, even though they had engineers' approvals on there, So they were forced to sell the car at a great loss. You hear stories, they sell it back to interstate, and then within 3 days, it gets registered.
Yeah.
So why is it good for the interstate, but not here, and
Yeah.
engineers report, mate? So that's probably the main crux of this as well, Just
Perfect.
once the engineer signs off on it, it's going to be safe.
No, great.
So
All right,
please,
appreciate that.
signatures from all over the country would help greatly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Do you think also with all this petition and all the stuff that could possibly get introduced into WA,
Yeah.
do you think that will bring back more elite car shows and more elite builders back into WA with a bigger festival like Motor X within WA? Because we have nothing now. We have no big shows for elite cars.
The Hot Rod Show that we were managed with a group of people, that was the premier indoor show in Perth. But just recently going to Motor X with Claude and a whole heap of people, talking to the judges, Owen Webb, Rachel Derbs, people like that. We didn't see anything slowing down over there.
Yeah,
It's pretty, the money's still flowing. Obviously, industry is growing still
definitely.
with the modified cars. So, yeah, you're right. It will change a lot of things here. It'll increase it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd love to be involved in another Street Machine Hot Rod Show like I was in the past. Not saying that it could never happen, because there's a lot of good people out there that want to support an event like that.
Yes.
Quickly, for example, the one that we are managing now is Tarmac West, which was Targa West in the beginning.
Yep.
We've introduced so many different things to that. Daniel Milton would be the one that would, if he not mentioned it before in the past, we got his burnout car and Chad Douglas's burnout car up and down Riverside Drive.
Yes.
The response from that, just visually, and after the event, we sat with City of Perth, with Ross Tapper. They were just overwhelmed with how the river in the background, these big horsepower cars going up and down Riverside Drive.
Yeah.
It created such more impact in the city.
It's such a good event where everyone comes. There's a whole different class of cars everywhere. There's cars on the oval. There's manufacturers, suppliers, everything like that. Which is something that we haven't seen in a long time. Even at car shows
Car
here
shows, okay.
is there's not a real great deal of suppliers that come to WA and show off their wares
Yeah. Yes.
for parts.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We go to other places, Somonats, and you go to Motor X, and people are selling parts galore and
Yep.
showing off what
Yep.
the new products are.
Yep.
We don't have any of that coming out here going, okay, let us show you what we've got.
Not enough support in that.
Yeah, well, that's it. And we need to get that back into WA as well, I think.
There's some new things that I've introduced to the event for this year. Waiting for that to come to some sort of a approval.
Okay.
But that was for. I don't want to try to get people too excited about it, but rather than just be a static show, well, let's just say we put a proposal in for street machines to be able to cruise
Okay,
through the
great.
city
Perfect.
during the event.
That'd be nice.
Yep. So it's not just roll up, park your car and sit there all day.
Yeah.
On a consistent schedule, the cars can rotate around the city.
Okay, perfect.
Which I used Cooley Rocks as an example. I used Rocky Nats as an example. I used Summer Nats as an example. And there's evidence of what it brings into the city.
Yeah, definitely.
So, again, your question, is that going to help increase the modified car scene and maybe have more events like that? Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to put the link in this video,
Yeah.
and we'll put all also in our description so everyone can see where it is, how to get there, how to sign up for it, things like that.
Yeah.
We really appreciate you guys talking about it, being so very open about what you guys are doing and what you're trying to achieve, because, like you said, it does affect the greater good for everyone here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we really appreciate your time and having a chat with us.
And like, if I can say this at least, and I'm sure Eddy and Claude and even everyone that's helped us, Julian Scafidi is a guy that is through and through dedicated to what he wants to do. He was our president of Perth City Street Machine Club,
Yes.
and now he's had to step down because he's been doing it for a long time. So we got Dean Valentine, but all these people names, even Peter and Alison from Northern Steel, they're such dedicated people with what they do.
Yeah.
Anira, May from Rumble and Rocco. All these people, when they commit to come to an event, for example, the one that myself and Rita and Stephen run with Ross Tapper, they come.
Yep.
They bring their club members, they commit, and they get a lot out of it. So, like, if this petition can keep going, and I know those people actually support us, they support
Right.
it, why we're doing this. We're not doing this because we're getting a monetary value out of it. Is it our age, Phil? I don't know.
Well, I think it's, we want to see the greater good.
Yeah.
Like you said, it not just benefits us right now, it
No.
benefits our children for the future.
For the future.
And what they're going to be
Yeah.
doing, and it keeps that industry alive. Otherwise, it will die out.
It will die.
Yeah. I'm actually a bit upset about the fact that we don't have a decent show here in Perth now. You brought it. You mentioned it. I can tell you now, I ain't going to stop playing around with cars, no matter what people says to me, whether I'm good at it or I'm not good at it.
Yeah.
I'm still going to keep playing with cars for a long time.
I think most of us that like tinkering is definitely going to be that way for the rest of our lives until we die. Like we've interviewed a guy that's 100 and he's still playing his next project and he's over 100.
Yep.
And you're sitting there looking at him and you go, wow, he's still kicking and he's still out in the garage every night, and it's a credit to him.
Can I say something now that you've said that? I was lucky enough to meet George Barris.
Yep.
The guy that built the Munster Mobile, built Elvis Presley's cars, was quite a few years back in Sydney at Motor X. As a invited guest to Motor X back then, we were invited to this big dinner. Little did I know that George Barris was at the dinner. So we walked in there and I seen the guy, and to me he's like the god in America that built all the stars, apart from Gene Winfield and all these other people. And I didn't realise my wife had walked over and started talking to him. I heard, because my wife being Italian, they started to talk in Italian. And so I walked over there and I said, "Oh, George," I said, "you're talking to my wife?" He goes, "Oh, don't worry, I know who you are." And I'm thinking, I'm a nobody.
Yeah.
He's the one that I look up to. He says, no, mate. You're in this room, look around. The only reason you're in this room is because you've done something.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
And he said to me, Phil, I said, how old are you now? I can't remember. I think it was very late 90s. He looked like, he struggled to walk a little bit. And I said, can I ask you, how did you start your love for the cars? He goes, I was a young 20-year-old in Hollywood in a little dirty old shop in the back of, back there building cars. I was cutting them up, welding them, doing this. then I started to grow, and then from there, these movie stars were coming in, and hence, I went from there, and I went, right. And he said, so I said, you look well, mate. You really look well. And he said, yeah. I said, what's your secret? Cars.
Yeah.
I went, no.
No.
It kept me going. It's the reason why I'm in this room here with you, miles away from my own country, talking to blokes like you, because I love doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
And he said, I'll continue doing it. And sadly, 3 months after that, he passed.
Yeah.
Yeah. He even gave us his address and everything. I thought, walking away, Phil, I was like, I was overwhelmed and thought, I've just spoken to God.
Yeah.
So I had to tell you that story because it never left my mind what he said.
Yeah.
I know, is building cars, playing around with cars a kid's thing, a thing that we did when we were young blokes?
Well, I think it was something that we were taught because we had to help our parents and stuff like that, and we had to mess around with cars and things like that. Like personally, like my old man was blind, so I had no choice but to fix cars because he couldn't see it. So he was instructing me how to do stuff, and I was doing it from 8, 9 upwards and playing around with it and putting locks on cars and stuff like that because I had no idea. And he's sitting there blind telling me how to put things.
Really? He was
feeling it around. He goes, no, you got it around the wrong way, and telling me how to put it on and doing that, stuff like that. So it was interesting doing that kind of stuff. But back then when I was a kid, I was going, this is bullshit. I could be playing with my friends kind of thing. But now I appreciate it, I do appreciate it.
So same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's the same thing, except now we're older and we got more coin to spend on our toys.
Yeah, well, that's just it. Well, look,
thank you.
We do appreciate all of you giving us the insight to everything, and we hope all the best with this, and we'll keep pushing it from our end and make sure people are aware of the petition.
Yes.
Keep us updated on how you went and if it's been secured or not, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you. Eddie?
Yeah.
Claude? Yeah.
Please get online, sign it, help us.
Yeah. Or if you can help us in any other way, get a hold of us.
Yeah.
We can let you know how you can actually help us.
Yeah, perfect.
Up and coming clubs, even whatever. Even if you think it's something that's just in the back of your mind, just give us a call. Quickly, we've got a website for ASMF.
Perfect.
It's asmfwa.com.au, and get onto that. That'll help with a lot of questions about how to modify a car. I constantly get emails coming through that website, but it's actually, the website was set up in such a way that we really don't have to answer too many questions, but sometimes I just feel like I want to, and I do help them. And I'd not say everyone, but a lot of people actually send feedback saying, look, thank you. So it goes, our website goes to links on DOT's site. I know a few other groups of people that have created something like that, but ours is quite interactive. Great. Where I think the questions is what the average street machiner want to ask is in our website.
Great. Because
you go to DOT's, no disrespect to DOT's website, it's a bit complex. I mean, even Claude will tell you that to try to, So the website, asmfwa.com.au.
Perfect. All right. Well,
there's another thing we're working on, Bagman, weren't we?
That's right.
We were talking to the Department of Transport, we're just trying to make that website a lot easier, So,
yes.
Yeah.
So, it's another one, actually. Yeah.
No. Great. All right, mate. Well, appreciate your time. And
thanks, Phil.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for your time, mate.
Yeah, and we'll go from there.
Yep. Cheers.
Sounds good.
Beauty.